Welcome everyone to Motivation and That. I'm Natalie, I am your host, and I am here today in person with my friend Vince, who is right here in town. So just was able to walk up and join for a chat today, and I think I'm excited. It's going to be kind of a two-parter conversation. We think,
Yeah, too.
about life here in Indiana, PA.
I don't have an Indiana shirt, so.
It's because that's who you are. It's in your genes. And to chat about kind of just that lifestyle for folks that don't know about Indiana. We'll kind of describe where it is and why it's a topic of conversation. And then just more of an interesting dynamic that we got to experience in different ways a couple years ago. There was
Has it been a couple years?
yes, right? It's insane. But Vince you were the first person that I had to meet when Josh and I started dating.
Yep.
It was first person you're going to meet is Vince. And it was in Pittsburgh, of all places, so not even out here. It was before I met his family. It's before I met anyone. I have to go meet Vince. And so this has just kind of, I think, been it's really nice to have someone in town that has this history and comfortability, and moving out here for me, which this is about an hour and a half from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I left all of that I had back in Pittsburgh, and now I get to inherit what Josh has here in Indiana. So
It's a big inheritance.
it's a
Good inheritance.
So tell me a little bit just kind of about you, about how long you've been out here in this area, and we'll get into a little bit of the uniqueness of Indiana. But Vince, who are you? How long have you been in this area? Tell us a little bit about you.
So I actually was not born in Indiana. I spent most of my life here, but I'm originally from Somerset County, which I don't know if you know Somerset.
I do.
Pretty rural, more rural than this, but and then my dad's from here. My mom was from Somerset. My mom passed. I moved here with my dad, fourth, fifth grade. Um, Met all my previous friends then, and then left for 3 years. Georgia, came back to Indiana in ninth grade.
I didn't know you went to Georgia.
Yeah, I lived with my dad's sister down there
Okay.
for 3 years. That was after my mom passed. My dad needed some time to, get stuff together.
Been there.
Yep. So yeah, I moved back here in 2001, 2002, I think. So I've been here for 23 years since then.
You've been in the same place even in town, right?
Yeah, I originally moved in with my grandmother, with my dad, which is over on 13th in Washington.
Yeah.
Then my dad bought this house in
Awesome.
2002.
Which now we're 3 blocks away from at
Yeah.
most, so really nice.
Yeah,
And
2 minutes to walk here.
when we bought the house we're in now, it was funny because you came and you were like, I've heard stories of this house.
Yeah, yeah.
Do share.
So I told my uncle that Josh had bought this house, and he was like, "Is this?" Was asking me which one it was, and he was like, "Is it this one?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that was the I think it's the Robinson Lytles, who were the owners of the what's it called?
Funeral
Home here." Yeah. And he was like, "Man, there were crazy parties. I would not be surprised if there was cocaine in those walls."
And ever since, we've been on the hunt to find the cocaine in the walls. We found our way. There's in the closet right in the room where we record, there's access to the attic. So the house is in two parts. We had the original house, and then they put on this huge addition.
Yeah, I remember when they were building that.
Yeah, but it's clear that they used to hang out in the attic occasionally because it's set up. There's lights. We had no idea. There's outlets up there. And newspapers from the 50s. So thankfully, no one looks like they've been squatting up there.
Not an abnormal thing to find a house in Indiana.
Not in Pennsylvania by any means. But my favorite was we found a box of photos when we bought the house. And the photos were all from when they put the addition on.
Okay.
And one, I'm pretty sure, now I don't know these people, so I'm not talking bad. They were probably all really having a good time on some stuff while they built the house addition. Because you could tell they were real happy to be building, and there's not a lot of people that are that happy when you're putting down hardwood floors and stuff. But the deck that they put on outside, which is still here, and it's been redone a couple times, they had this little bar area, and the sign on the bar area is the clothing optional.
Yep.
Okay. And it was like a privacy fence, and you didn't really need a privacy fence in this house. We're nestled. And then the people we bought it from said they were mirrors everywhere, and there's still mirrors everywhere. And there was closed circuit TV. I'm like, 100% there were swingers.
Oh yeah, it was guaranteed.
100%. So just a little bit of the nuggets of small town life, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Things that may be hiding there. But so you met Josh, my husband, for anyone that's kind of tuning in the first time, in college?
yeah. It was like, well, it was the end of college, so like 2010, 2011.
Gotcha. And he grew up in like about 20, 15, 20 minutes, even more rural than
Yeah,
this, and nowhere land. I mean, there's not cell service in some of the spots that we hop in out there. And then you guys were roommates for a while and then have just been really good friends kind of ever since.
yeah.
And I hear some fun stories from him about what it was like to grow up in a place like this. I want to hear a couple from you because I'm sure you got some nuggets, but let's describe this portion of Pennsylvania to folks
Okay.
who may not know. We're, like I said, in about an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh, which you wouldn't think starts to get rural, but it does. And for people that don't know Pennsylvania, Philly and Pittsburgh, not on the same side of the state,
Right.
basically different worlds. And
Philly is not the capital.
right, we're in the Northeast, we're not in the Northeast. We are not Midwest. But
Still considered Appalachia too at
right,
this point.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the interesting part because it comes right up through here. That's right where we're at. The high point of Pennsylvania is Mount Davis, which isn't far from here.
Yeah.
And
It's in Somerset.
so is it really?
Yeah.
See, look, there we go. And the two things I heard growing up were Pennsylvania, so basically Kentucky, but Pennsylvania, and then the Pittsburgh and Philly, and in between was Alabama. And I don't want anyone to take offense to it, but it is 100% true.
It is. Very true.
So you've had Somerset, which is rural. There's not a university there. There is here in Indiana, which
Yeah.
definitely changes the dynamic. But what kind of were those experiences like when you were younger? And then, did you start to sense a cultural shift at all? Even when you went to Georgia and came back, what was kind of that experience like?
I mean, absolutely. It was I mean when I first moved here in elementary school, I was kind of too young to really tell what was going on. Moving to Georgia, which is very Southern Baptist, very conservative, all of that. Moving back, going to public school, um, was all very, you know, new and exciting because I was not going to a private Christian school. Um, and yeah, you could just tell, I mean, the overlap of what you were saying with Alabama in the middle, Pennsylvania-esque things. So I don't know if you've noticed being here, people tend to dress sometimes like they live in Texas or like they live in the South. Um, yeah, they're just
And we have Mennonites here, right?
and
Amish Mennonites.
Mennonites and Amish, yeah.
So huge in the construction population. It's
Yeah.
not, strange to see a truck of folks come up, unload, do a metal roof,
Oh yeah, Walmart all the time. Yeah.
and head out, which is, I mean, for anyone that has not seen that, is a unique, you're like straw hats, buggies,
Yep.
and also makes for fun driving because we're super conscious about buggies being on the road, which are pretty common when you're
Yeah.
around some of those
I have to
buses.
actively remind myself to slow down over a hill when I'm driving because I'm like, oh, I could destroy a buggy.
Yeah. Our lost and found animal posts here often will have a horse just randomly in someone's yard. You're like, where did that come from? So now, if you had to pick out things that were actually positive about that experience versus some things that may have been a little bit more negative, and let's talk pre-college. What are some of the things that are unique about it? And you look back and you're like, yeah, I love that was part of my upbringing.
I mean, this is obviously a small town. Without the college, it's even smaller. But I just like the closeness of everything. That's how I grew close to all my friends. We were all within walking distance of each other's houses. Um, it was you could literally just walk anywhere to Walmart. We'd walk to Walmart. Granted, it's half-hour walk, but that's what we would do in the snow, um, so I don't know. That was a massive difference from Georgia where everything was driving. You couldn't walk anywhere down there. You didn't have close, friends that were neighbors, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And some of the less positive things?
Less positive things were, I don't want to say the conservativeness of the Pennsyltucky
Mhm.
terms, but not a whole lot of like acceptance for different people here outside of the college, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, it took me a long time to come out being gay and
Yeah.
stuff, being in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
So that was one of the negative aspects, but
Yeah. And I think when we were prepping for this, we were kind of like, hey, we can touch on the politics side, the religious side of things. And it's there, it's a given. And I think because it's ingrained in the culture,
yeah,
and then what we were going to chat about, like the university being a very liberal, kind of focused university in I think wonderfully positive ways, but they paint the sidewalks. Like it's there.
yeah,
And then I went to vote last year. Took Josh for his first time. He'd never
which is
voted
great.
before.
Super happy about that.
And we're sat there and we look around and it looks like Texas came up and voted. And we mean that in the nicest way. But
Yeah, it's just
it's a clash of kind of, I think, culture, ideology. And then people come here for the university to work. They may stay. There's a hospital here. So, there's a relationship even from that perspective. So there's an interesting, I think, dynamic. And you mentioned coming out, and is this the third year we had the Pride Festival
I
here?
think yeah, it is the third year, which we don't have to get approval anymore for now, so we can.
Well, and let's just touch on that for a second, right? So it's only 3 years
Yeah,
in a place that does have a very strong kind of network at the university level. And you have to have approval to have that.
yeah,
And I mean, that's
for a
pretty
certain
well,
amount of years before.
and it's pretty well attended, I
Yeah,
think, right?
yeah, it is very well.
Yeah. So, and I think that that's a something that when I was getting ready to move out here, I was surprised. And then I was kind of like, oh, this is the first year? Because I think it was the first year
Yeah,
when Josh and I just
I
started
think
dating.
it was.
And he was like, oh, Vince and I are going to go out to the Pride Fest. Are you going to come? And I ended up being like out of the country for something or another.
Yeah,
And, but then thinking, oh my, that's their first year that they've. Meanwhile, we're on like 95 years of every other
yeah,
parade that
it is.
exists, right?
And there's a difference too, because the college would have drag shows every year,
Oh,
which
yeah.
shows you the difference being outside of the college in town.
Yeah. There's no drag at the library.
No,
Or is there?
no, there's not.
Just there. So, I think that I'll just ask, what are some of the things that you've seen, heard? We know drugs are big in urban centers, but we also know that there is a hub for all of that here. We've got some folks that are going to come on and talk about their journey with like recovery and addiction and everything. I mean, just a couple months ago, there was, one of the friends that you guys had was, got a hold of something that probably wasn't so great. But what are some of those as you got older now? So like through like the college aspect, growing and everything that this kind of area brought to light, or things you've experienced that, I don't know, other people may not know or haven't.
Well, I guess I mean, touching on the drug aspect, there's really no like rehab centers here or anything like that. So people really rely on each other, to get them out of that kind of thing. I've obviously had multiple friends with experiences with the harder stuff,
Yeah.
and there's no place they get sent to here. They get sent out of state,
Yeah.
or to Pittsburgh or somewhere out of here that's there's just nothing here for support.
I didn't even think of that. And I know that there's something that just got approval in town. I think was it a shelter or something?
Yeah, I think so.
And one of the Facebook comments are gold.
Yeah.
And people are like, don't bring the druggies here. And it's just like, oh my
No.
gosh, that is not a correlate. I mean, there's correlation, but not in the sense that people may jump to. But I mean, the shock that people, when they're removed, which sometimes can be great to recover or, heal, but they lose everything that you just talked about. The
Yeah.
ability to walk to a friend's when they're having a bad day, or, have the familiarity and resources of the good things that are
Yeah.
available. So I had no idea that there weren't, and it's very obvious now that I think of it.
And there was something, it was kind of like an NA type thing where
Mhm.
they were able to go for methadone or something like that. But that doctor was very corrupt and would do creepy things like, oh, okay, well, if I can take some pictures of you, I'll give you these pills. Like that kind of like scary. So obviously people don't,
Yeah.
when they hear about that, they're not going to go to the person. They're like, all right, I'll just get shipped out.
Send me somewhere I don't know people that
Yeah.
probably will still be safer.
Yeah.
And we've got like the fair coming up every year. There's the Indiana County Fair here, and I laugh because when I go to that, it throws me back because I grew up the next county over. We had a big fair.
Yeah.
It was the chance to pull out your hillbilly, to get your bandana, to all that kind of stuff. And we used to live not far from the fairgrounds, so we would hear the truck pulls, we would hear all of those kind of things, and I think sometimes it's a question of how do we still embrace that history and that culture that are so important. I mean, this is an agricultural area, it's a
Yeah.
mining area, it's an industry area. And I don't think any of us would say throw it all out and turn
No,
everything
that's
into, what you see when you go into the major cities.
yeah, still very important to the town,
Right.
obviously.
So, I mean, you've been a part, I think, of or in the culture that's been working on some of this. What are some of the ways that you can take these historical, as my mom would call them, mom, backwards areas, and bring them to a forward thinking, but still informed and embracing the history of what they are?
I mean, I would say I don't want to say those people, but those people are still like when you have the overlap in the college and the rural here, um, eventually those people do become open
Mhm.
because they kind of have to.
Mhm.
With colleges here, it's always going to be on their doorstep unless you live way out of town, obviously.
Mhm.
But so I think that's a positive because they eventually have to listen and hear you. And then that opens conversation for more acceptance,
Yeah.
in the town, which I've seen over time. Um, like our borough council used to be very, very conservative and nothing. We would have never seen a pride festival get approved like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But now also the college has been getting heavily involved in local politics and they're all on the board now.
Mhm.
Um, so which has drastically changed, I think, the culture for good
Yeah.
in the town itself.
Having gone to a borough meeting not too long ago, I was actually shocked to see anyone under 40
Yeah.
sitting kind of at that table. And it was a little kind of like, okay, I'm gonna hope people aren't on here for self-serving reasons,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, like nice to see. And you mentioned, eventually people have to listen. It was funny. So Josh, first time voter. I voted in every stupid election,
Same.
like primaries, local, whatever, with the exception of a couple I've been out of town for, and shocked to why don't you vote? And then he slowly like is realizing, oh, it's the local stuff that's really important. Like, okay, fine, feel like your presidential vote doesn't matter. I'm
Yeah.
not going to argue that with you. But he was talking to someone just the other day, and he was like, because he's curious, he's catching up on
Yeah.
40 years basically of not knowing how do you learn where people stand and how politics work. And he tried to ask a question and he got shut down. And he was like, no, I really want to know.
Oh,
And so I do think we're in this weird bracket, right? If people are very much kind of in their two ends of things. And then you've got the folks in the middle that don't want to, I hate to say, take a side.
yeah.
That they lean one way or another, and they're watching everyone else kind of battle it and maybe have their earplugs in.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the middle people for sure. But how do you deal with when people are like, I don't even want to talk to you about that. I don't want to engage in it.
Well, I have to do that every day as a union rep, so
There you
that's
go. You got
pretty much
practice.
how you kind of just have to give them time. Um, I would say ask what their concerns are, be like, okay, well, I understand why you don't vote, whatever, but what do you want to see changed? Like, what are your concerns?
Mhm.
You know, and that kind of gets them talking and lets you know that, I'm not here to vote against you.
Mhm.
We just want to hear what your side wants. And then,
Well, and I think it's really because Indiana being a county seat, we've got state reps that are right here, like on
yeah, like
two
right
blocks
now.
next to each other.
Yeah,
They represent the county, so take it for what you will. And then you got the borough, and when we talk about things like approving a parade, and I think those are the interesting, like when you get down to what someone wants to see, and then you talk about, okay, well, who is going to make that decision? These people that literally live next door to you are
right.
probably going to make that decision.
Yeah,
And I also find that sometimes that's when you're surprised to find out what people are red or blue or green or whatever color of alignment they are. And it's also the place where I hope, and this will be my pitch to everyone, is that's where we talk about the actual stuff and not the label.
right.
I don't care what your label is. If you agree with me that XYZ is needed for the school in this district, then
I'm
cool.
on board. Yeah,
Let's talk about
yeah.
it. Let's figure it out. And it's not a tit for tat. But I'm hoping as the younger folks get into it, and that's its own battle, right?
It
Because if
is.
you are
Oh
in
yeah,
young Democrats or young Republicans, we've seen the videos,
yeah.
we know what it, shows up like, to embrace that it's about the topic and not about the stance. But
Right.
um, I mean, when you think, what would it take for you to run for borough?
Oh geez. I don't know
Hi,
for
Vince.
bro, but
Borough Council.
um, I think I don't want to get in. I'm not
No,
that
but I
type
mean,
of
as someone who's in kind of
who's
this
yeah,
realm, like, we don't like to deal with the conflict, right?
right.
I want to sit in the back room and help, pull the levers of the Wizard of Oz, but I don't want to be the person that folks are like pounding the door down.
Yeah,
But yet, we're probably some of the right people
it's true.
to be there. So, how do we find someone to represent?
I mean, there's a ton of groups right now too, that meet for. I mean, I'm part of them on Facebook, like the Indiana VIE, whatever voter initiative type things. I would say getting involved in those groups, and eventually, those leaders will come out of them,
Yeah.
of those.
And those exist everywhere because
Yeah,
I think as much as we make fun of Facebook comments, Facebook is also oddly like the safe place to set those things up,
yep,
to be able to say, I'm going to watch at a distance or I'm going to follow that, not maybe fully engage at or stuff. So hopefully folks that are listening are going, I'm kind of the same way. I don't know where to go. I don't want to be at a protest. I don't want to be at a rally. I don't want to be here. I just want to be a part of the conversation. Look at your Facebooks. Like,
yeah.
it's a little goofy, but
Generally, those groups are pretty accepting too. Like they just want people to be involved.
right.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna check our little timer here, even though we had a good perfect. We're right on schedule.
Nice.
So let's get into, I'm just gonna, we'll pull Josh in because he's the link that marries us together. So, this, what I feel is very appropriate for millennials, where everyone jokes, you marry them, you marry all the friends.
Yeah.
So Josh has like 10 wives out of my side of the house in my friend group. I've got you and Mike and, other folks. And so, I laugh because he is this bald, muscled guy that plays World of Warcraft. We joked about it on one of the very first episodes. Lifts weights, rides bikes, does all these things. He appears like this very lunkhead, if they would call it Planet Fitness,
Yeah.
and he's not. He is wildly accepting of things and weirdly tolerant of a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Also very diverse background with growing up in this area again, but he also is
Even more rural.
more rural. But lived in California, lived in Dallas, lived in Seattle, so he's been around
Yeah.
with his past employer. But he came back.
Everyone always comes back to Indiana.
He always come back to southwestern
South-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So you were here when he made the decision to come back.
Yeah.
How did that, like, he came from Virginia, so he had moved closer and closer. But what was that when you were like, okay, hey, he's coming back, he's going to be in town.
Yeah.
But why, how did he express to you why he wanted to come back?
He missed home.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. Like I know he wanted to, he was kind of following the job kind of make it, and then eventually he did. I mean, that's what it was all about. He just missed home and wanted to be home.
Yeah.
So once he realized he could be back here,
And how long was he gone for?
oh geez, we left because I don't know if you knew that I attempted to move out to California with him when he first. Yeah, so that was I quit my job at Sheets for 12 years that I've been working at, and I went and stayed with him in Modesto.
Okay.
So that was 2016.
Okay.
So and he came back what 2021?
Yes. 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 Time is
That's
weird.
it. Yeah,
21, 22.
COVID
Yeah.
ruined it. So I don't know where.
It doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so I mean, did you guys stay in touch while he was gone?
Yeah.
Because he didn't come home a ton, did he?
Um, he'd come home every now and then, I think. Yeah.
So, he, and where I'm taking this is an episode that we'll be doing with him in the future that is, and he's agreed to, so he knows we are talking about him right now. I've already prefaced it. But it's, and I've had experience as a woman who has had someone follow me when I have left somewhere and gone somewhere else. And we know this is stalking in many cases, when it gets to an extreme standpoint. And we're not going to use names, obviously, but Josh had that exact thing happen. He came back here, someone from Virginia that he knew from work at that time happened to come back here too. And to come back. Not only came back, but then ended up in town. And before he and I met, it had already started getting a little weird.
Yeah.
And he fell into the what I consider a very toxic masculinity thing of big strong guys don't get stalked. It's fine. Nothing weird will happen. But you watched everything kind of start to occur. You were stuck in the middle. You knew the players involved. What was that whole thing? Was it weird when you found out someone had moved up here?
I mean, yeah, not at first because I didn't know what was going on at the
Mhm.
time, but a little bit knowing previously how that person had ended up in Josh's apartment.
Mhm.
The just ended up there and
Mhm.
stayed. So um yeah, when he moved back, because they moved to Greensburg first.
Mhm.
So I was going there and visiting them there, and they were coming here, and um, so it wasn't super weird at first until Josh was kind of like, I really need to find a place in town
Mhm.
and get out of Greensburg and out of this apartment.
Because it was one of those, and two sides to every story. No denying that there was hooking up involved, and there was one of those
It
situationships.
was, yeah,
Probably
it was
put
a
it.
situationship, yeah,
And he had decided it wasn't really going to be that really anymore, or at least we're going to start exiting out. And so I don't know the whole time. Like he bought his house in like an October time frame, and this kind of all started to escalate. I
yeah,
think not long after all being in that. But
yeah.
when did it start to get weird for you?
It was definitely when he moved back to town. Um, because all of a sudden, then she was like, "Well, I gotta get a place in town," and then it was like, okay, definitely a little following going on. Like
Mm-hmm.
she had an apartment in Greensboro, it's fine, making money, doing whatever. And then is literally as soon as he moved, she was like, okay, I gotta get a place in town now.
And you mentioned, and I don't know when all of this kind of you had kind of your observations you had, but at one point you kind of felt bad for her
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
And what turned that? Because he can be a little like when he gets his mindset.
So yeah, and I don't know, she lived like a half block down the street from me,
Right.
at that time. So, Josh had made it known to her that, this isn't a relationship. I don't want a relationship, blah blah blah. So he was gonna start dating. And at that point, then she was sitting me down trying to get stuff out of me about if he was on Tinder, if he was, who he was seeing, was he going on dates, blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh, I was kind of telling her, I was like, hey, you just need to move, get away from it, like, but also being like, I get it, Josh shouldn't be doing that if he's still hanging out with you and like blah blah blah. So I was going back and forth, kind of stuck in the middle
Mhm.
at the time. while also trying to support Josh. But
And I think that's the weird part, right? So you've got this friend who doesn't want anything to do with someone who you don't have a problem with at that point. You're
right,
like, well, you brought her around, and
yeah,
now we're kind of, friends or whatever. She shows up here, and and so the strain that then that ends up you feeling like you're in like a pick situation.
yeah.
And then when did you kind of realize that this was not okay?
So this was when she would just kind of just show up out of nowhere. It was like, um, I don't know, we'd be at the grocery store and like Josh and I would go to the grocery store and all of a sudden she would just be in the parking lot and or at the bar or, pretty much anywhere, it would just all of a sudden just pop up. And it was getting like real weird at that time, being like, how does she know that we're like here?
Where you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Oy, makes a little in the stomach. But and how long did that go on for?
Uh, Months. I want to say maybe not months. I don't know.
Feels like
Time.
months
It feels
sometimes.
like
That's what
months. Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
Yeah. And spoiler alert, she was actually tracking him
yeah,
in multiple ways at that point.
yeah. And who knows? I mean, we just know about the one. I don't know if Josh found out about any other ones, but
There was like location sharing that we found on phones later on, I think, at some point.
I figured, yeah, there had to be something
Right.
else. There's no way she was just there.
Yeah. So I think, we bring this up because I'm a girl. I love tracking where people are on things like, oh, where'd you post from? Oh, what's this at?
Yeah,
I've dated. I've been that someone that's like, are we something? Are we not? Let me just see what's going on, whatever it might be. I thought it was funny that on our very first date, he was like, I think I'm being stalked. Like in the middle of like drinks when we were out. And I'm like, what? And he whips his phone out and he just scrolls through this message. And I'm like, it feels like kind of innocent. It was just like, I just want to grab coffee. I just want to talk, or whatever. And I'm like, if you slept with her, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, I can't. I was kind of in the same point where early on, I'm like, well, girls be crazy.
yeah.
I've been a little weird in the past too. And then, just at that point, also like, oh, do you think I won't be like this?
Yeah.
Is this a test to see like how much I'm like, oh heck no, I ain't gonna be there. But so in the midst of this, it feels like he's put her off. She's still kind of showing up stuff. He told me it was actually hesitant. He was hesitant to bring anyone around because he didn't
Yeah.
want anything to kind of, which I'm like, you knew something was wrong at that point. But did you also feel protective in a sense?
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Like, dude, what have you learned?
Not to mention all the times too when he would ask her to leave the house and then she would stand in front of the doorway and just like, that kind of stuff was going on too, which was
Yeah, real just
yeah,
boundary issues for
yeah,
sure, right? So it was on that date that he found out that there was a literal tracker on his vehicle.
I remember the phone call well.
I didn't get the phone. The tracker went off on my phone, which is the best part. I'm like, well, he must have like some work
That's
stuff in
right.
the back, and I just like exited out. I was like, I tag near you, whatever. And I mean, he went back to my house for a little bit. So later on, when I found out that that's what really happened, I'm like, holy cow, she knows where my home is in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh now. But it kept going off the whole way home. He pulled over and he finds an air tag
yeah.
in
He
his
called me
wheel
he
well.
called me when he found it because
Okay.
he was just like, I mean, it was like fear. Just like fear over the phone when he found that. He's like, dude, just like talking through it. He's like, dude, I just found this under my car.
Yeah. I mean, and so anyone that's listening, like, if you found something like that, I mean, thankfully he knew where it was coming from.
Yeah,
Actually, I'll take that back. I don't know if that's thankfully or not, right? But if we find a tracker and we have no idea who's tracking us,
yeah,
it's a little scary.
yeah,
And she admitted to it. And then you and Mike were the sound voices of reason.
yeah,
And bless my husband's heart, he was not hearing any of it, right? So I was not let in on any of that till months later of what was happening.
yeah.
But what were you guys trying to like reason with him? Because again, big macho dude who's like, I just need to not deal with this and it'll go away.
Yeah. Mike was definitely the first one because Mike is unhindered when he knows something is wrong and he wants you to do something, he will tell you exactly his truth. And so he was the first one to be like, dude, Josh, you got to get a PFA, or you got to like go tell the freaking police about this or something.
Mhm.
And I pretty much agreed. I was like, yeah, that's effed up. Like,
Yeah.
you got to go something. So
Also, that's hysterical because Mike is the quietest human I've ever seen
yes,
in my life, and I cannot like picture passionate
yeah,
terms of that. So,
yeah,
PFA
that got
protect.
him. That got him.
Yeah, so protection from abuse, it's something we tend to see with domestic violence victims more than anything. Women tend to file them. And even the places that you can go to for help are
Yeah,
often geared towards women.
yeah. Like the
So,
Alice Paul house here, which is
right.
I think Josh went to.
Eventually went to
Yeah,
it and cannot say enough about like how much they guide you through that process. And those are one thing that are actually sadly in a lot of places. So anyone that needs, assistance from any of that, please try to
yeah.
find those.
And that's a very, like you said, it's a very woman-oriented thing. So
Mhm.
like a lot of men are probably fearful to even
Yeah.
go to the Alice Paul house because they're like, oh, it's just for women. Like I don't.
Right.
Yeah,
They're going to think I'm there trying to find someone, probably.
yeah,
But he did go to the police and they
yep,
did nothing.
yep.
It was our own conversation with the police chief later on. But I mean, at that point, it's like, well, what do you do? I've gone to the police, I've shown them the tracker, I've shown them the admission, and they're like, well, we can call her and tell her to leave you alone.
Exactly.
And doesn't give me a lot of faith
No.
and ability to protect someone. But it also makes you wonder, what's the assumption? What is a 5'2", 5'4", small girl going to do? Girl, because that's how you see them, right?
Yeah,
Going to do against this dude who bench presses 200 some or 300 pounds, squats 400, whatever. Like, you can't take care of yourself, my man.
yeah.
I mean, and so that happens, and then what are you left with? Like, did you guys ever talk about it again until like new
I mean,
things
yeah, it was
happened?
pretty consistent because it was still happening. She was still showing up places and or driving around his house, driving around my house, or walking past my house when he was there,
Yeah.
or like just so it didn't end there. It was still going on.
My favorite was when she left an olive tree on
Oh,
his porch. And it was like right before I came out here for the first time. And I'm like, why do you have a tree? And he's like, oh, it's an olive tree. It's from the stalker. It's like an olive branch. And I'm like, what? And so it's even those like weird, almost gaslighting moments of
yep.
like, I'll be nice. I'm so sorry.
It's still, yeah,
And
trying to get him to reeled back in.
yeah, yeah. So we'll talk more with him about it later on. But I mean, we're very convinced in an attempt to get him fired from his job over made up allegations. She then started driving past the house, and I at that point was staying there pretty consistently,
Yeah,
so I got to experience it. But we ended up in court. So eventually there was enough that she's showing up, she's messing with my livelihood, she's sending threatening messages, and Alice Paul,
large threatening messages.
right, was able to thankfully at least get an emergency kind of injunction.
Yeah,
And our experience with the whole process, I think, was really, it's across the board something that needs to be addressed because he did not get a final PFA because there wasn't a threat of bodily harm.
yeah,
And it's like, well, someone has to threaten to murder you to get a PFA or and she had a history of carrying a gun. Like, there were all of these things that it's like, what else do
yeah.
you need? But we had to tap you and be like, hey,
You
we
show,
might need a witness. So, I mean, at that point, here you are now, brought all the way back in. And what was that like to be? Was it a mix of thankfully something's happening? Or is it like, oh my God, this just won't go away?
it was both pretty much because I mean she was messaging me too and being like, I'm so sorry, blah blah blah. You were a really good friend to me, like kind of doing the same thing. Where at that point I was like, I don't even want to hear anything. Like, don't come past my house. Good. Like, so I mean,
Because you're getting stalked now, like
yeah,
by association,
yeah,
because you're a space where someone is known to hang out, to spend time, and that can't be comfortable, especially when you're like, oh, I'm going to do with this. But if she gets mad one day,
yeah.
I'm the closer place. Right. Just across the road. So Mike's looking out the window and he's even like, there she goes.
Yeah.
And even, I just laughed because you guys went on a walk, what, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
And we got the heads up, she's moved.
Yep. I didn't see it. That was again Mike again. Somehow he's
We confirmed it. We drove past and didn't see it. So, but I mean, this is now, we had a no contact order that was put in place. So that went for a year and expired. But the psychological aspect that the first reaction that you guys have is to warn Josh
Yeah.
when you've seen her because she's not left town. The first thing that I kind of have is we at least need to know where she is because we want to know what the distance is.
Right.
It's there to feel protected. It's a massive psychological impact.
Oh yeah. And it affected it. I mean, we're used to walking everywhere too, so we were
Right.
constantly being like,
It, so it makes me wonder, are you more sensitive to that now when you see, and I don't know if you've had other people in similar situations or exhibiting similar kind of, you're going a little far now.
yeah, I would definitely be more attuned to that now. I haven't experienced it since, thank goodness, but yeah, I would definitely be more attuned to being like, hey, you got to get out of this, or you need to, you know,
Yeah.
assess what's.
Well, and I think, and we'll start wrapping up soon, but the what you mentioned about, they're reaching out to you. It's something that also becomes very isolating, right? So
Yeah.
you don't want to talk about it because one, it makes me feel like I'm weak. It makes me feel like I can't fix this on my own or things like that. Small town police here, like I said,
Yeah.
we'll make assumptions later on. The police chief said, no, that probably should have been an arrest. So it's nice to know that that should have happened, but it's like, okay, can you please like let your staff know that
Yeah.
you shouldn't just brush off a tracker put on someone's car? But it's, if we talk about it more, it becomes a united front, right? It's like, no, everyone's going to say we're not doing this. But I think there's a fear of, will my friends support me? Do they think I'm overreacting?
Yeah.
Do I think they're overreacting? And so if you look back on it now, is there anything that you maybe would have done a little bit different, or you would have just, I'll go back to the, you make them listen to you.
Yeah.
Do you apply a mindset like that to someone who is just like, I don't want to talk about it, it's just going to go away?
Um, yeah, I guess I'm a very empathetic person in general. So like that's why I was spending also so much time with her because I felt bad. Um, so like I think I would probably be more pushy next time and be like, I understand, but this is not going away.
Well, and I think it's not just empathy, it's also just wanting to have stuff resolved. It's
Yeah,
like, if we could just, everyone can just cool
that is
down.
not gonna last forever.
Right. Grow up, we'll be adults, everyone will get kind of past it. But we do, I think, at some point have to realize that even our own friends that can act like that, you
Yeah.
gotta call them on their shit and be like, yeah.
And I've been there, done that too myself. So I've had friends be like, "Hey, you guys,"
Right. Right. So I think and I wanted to touch on it at least initially here. I'm sure there'll be more conversations in the future, but it is the standpoint of that's a serious situation that there weren't as many resources here. First off, you don't have as much experience with it here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a woman in a city. I'm always looking over my shoulder.
Exactly.
I've been stalked in the past, so I knew what to look for. But guys don't have that.
No, and this is very lax. Like you don't lock your doors here. You don't, that kind of thing. So like,
He locks everything.
oh yeah,
now.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
that's funny, but
I know. I lock my door now too. So
but that was, I mean, when I grew up in Greensburg, which was more suburban than
Yeah.
even out here, you slept. That's how it was. It
Yeah.
was just someone stopped by and would leave dinner for you if you weren't going to be home or something. And it's not necessarily what we have now, but in the world of online dating, especially,
yeah,
I think that it has brought a new level of, I don't want to say aggression from people, but there's this competition aspect. There's wanting to be picked. There's, why am I not good enough for you kind of thing.
yep,
And needing that answer. And we've created this world and environment that then when you plop it into a town where you can walk everywhere and you marry it with technology that can do things like tracking people without them noticing, you create a world where all of a sudden it's not about who's the bigger body in the room or who knows more, who's older. It's an even playing field.
yep,
So I hope that what we'll see is that places that historically marketed maybe to women, to mothers, to folks that are usually more likely to be a victim. That, especially for the younger generation, Gen Z,
Oh
millennials,
yeah.
that there becomes more of this support aspect. And it's not something that then gets played on, well, dude, you're a wimp. How could you not just tell her to go away
Oh,
and
yeah.
like make it happen? Well, you don't want to lay hands on someone. So if she's refusing to move, what am I supposed to do?
We do too much, yeah.
Right. So
Which I'm glad you were involved in the borough council and stuff like that, because that I'm glad you know, brought it to fruition.
I joke that no one knows who they were messing with when they moved a Fed out here to Indiana,
Right.
former Fed at this rate. But, and I think this all then comes back to when we were in that borough meeting, and this is one of the things that came up that, some other stuff we were dealing with was seen as so much more drastic than a literal fear for life at
Yeah.
one point, not only for that person, but for those around them being brushed off. And if the one thing that everyone asked questions was about was that. So we had some of the younger women on the council ask questions. The police chief asked us to meet with him afterwards and follow up, which honestly, again, I'm glad, if
Yeah.
anything, we were able to do that. But this is the kind of stuff that if you get involved, and we're going to bring it all the way back to the front, right? To small town politics and small town community, that's the kind of stuff, one, taking it to those groups. Because if you're, I mean, who else is going to take a Pride Festival approval there? You
Oh,
have to
yeah.
go to that group to
Exactly.
get it. It's just not going to happen. And to be on the other end of it, to be a receiving person of understanding, that's the kind of stuff that may come up.
Yeah. And that's how change happens.
Exactly. So I think that that's the beautiful piece of there's almost more ability to do that in a place like this, where the folks that are coming to chat with you. Or if you don't know them, it's like 4 degrees of separation at absolute most,
Yeah.
to realize.
That's what I always told Josh. It's community.
Right.
That's why you want to be home, is because community.
Right. And if not me, then who?
Yeah.
So I think it's I will never regret coming out here. It's been a wild like transition to make, but when I go back home sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah.
because I still have my house out there. I love it here, and I love that I can walk everywhere. I grew up in a place where you couldn't. It was a busy street, no sidewalks or anything, and now I'm like, yes, I can just walk to get coffee. Forget how far it is.
Yeah.
Get sweaty, and having folks that you can just call up and be like, hey, just pop over. Let's do something. Let's go somewhere. Let's be this thing. And in the same breath, realize that, that means that we all stand up for each other.
Exactly.
In
Yeah.
some form or fashion. So, Vince, as we wrap up the conversation today, which has gone a little bit of everywhere, but there are definitely strings that tie it all together. What would you kind of summarize is just life in a kind of rural place that then you love it, but you want to change it? Like,
Yeah.
if you had to just kind of put that in a nice little nugget basket, it's like, why do you want to go somewhere like that? And what do you need to be prepared for if going in, you're going to have to be a part of the change?
So I mean, let's just say talking to somebody moving from a city here. Um, I think very quickly you'll realize people will accept you. Um, especially when you go to your small town coffee shop. Go to, and then you eventually get into the groups. Obviously, you make some friends, they're in groups. And then you hear about the issues going on and, um, and I don't know, when you settle here, you eventually want to see, because in the big cities, you're like, oh, I don't think I'm going to make a huge change going to the council meeting or whatever. But here you have a real chance to. You actually have a voice and people will hear you out. And I think that's the best thing about living here. I've seen the change um, from ultra conservative to now people are being accepted. We have a pride parade.
Mm-hmm. And it is about the acceptance piece more than anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all have our boundaries of things, but what you bring up it just takes me back to Josh and the vote matters thing. And
Yeah.
if there's one place that your vote can matter, if you land there one day, I'm not telling everyone to move to rural America.
Yeah.
Shoot for change. But when you go to that, the smaller the community, it's almost like the more weighted your voice becomes. And doing it in a way that's thoughtful and is future looking. I want to be here for years to come.
Yeah.
So what type of community do I want to live in?
And then that eventually branches out,
Mhm.
to other counties, to other,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the pod.
yeah, this is fun.
You'll be back. I won't
Yeah,
let
it'll
you
be
lose.
right down the street.
I'm just gonna get you and Mike on together. We'll
Oh my
move the mic
gosh.
over and just have a good time talking about things. We're gonna get passionate about
I'm
something.
talking about high school.
He won't say anything for most
Yeah.
of the episode, and then we'll just hear him like chime in. But it's been a blast. We're coming up on the Indiana County Fair. We're coming up on some just good fall times in the
Yep.
town, which we love. But if you find yourself in Indiana County, this is what we'll leave it off of. We'll do a little tourism push for us.
Yeah.
What's some of the places they should go to if they come out here?
Oh man, Commonplace Coffee.
Yeah.
Number
Not a
one.
Pittsburgh thing only. It's
Yeah.
actually out here.
This is the first one out
Right.
here. Geez, I don't know. I would say, Mac Park, if you want to go somewhere woodsy.
Mm-hmm. White's Woods.
White's Woods. Yeah. You got the co-op out there. You can play disc golf.
Yeah.
You're into that. China King.
was gonna
I
say
have to say
Josephine's.
China King.
Yeah, we have some of the best food just on this little strip. There's not a whole ton of things, but the stuff that we've got, Pan Asia with their like Burmese noodles and
Yeah.
stuff, because there's part of the university is bringing out some just international individuals that have settled here and wanted to make this home, and they've brought amazing just
Awesome.
injection of things with them.
And they're actual refugees, so they're like, now they're part of the community.
Yeah.
So
And they make the best
The-
ramen.
best ramen.
And wonderful community. I mean, the kids that that have been raised here as a part of that kind of movement in,
Yeah.
that just the cat sit for folks. It's
Yeah,
great.
It is great.
All right. Well, we will be back next Sunday with another episode. There's lots of stuff coming. So this one, I very much just what's life like for us. You get a taste of who I am, who some of the local folks are that are on, and we'll get into more conversations as things go forward. So thanks for coming, Vin.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.